There exists a mineral that stops any leak permanently. It doesn't patch it temporarily, it doesn't slow water infiltration, it stops it permanently. A cracked clay tile roof treated with this mineral in powder form, mixed with water, stops leaking within 48 hours and remains sealed for decades. The Roman compound is called pozzolana, a naturally occurring volcanic ash found in deposits near the ancient city of Pozzuoli in the Bay of Naples. Roman engineers had been mixing pozzolana with lime and seawater since the 2nd century BC to create a hydraulic concrete that hardened underwater and became more waterproof with each passing decade instead of less. The Pantheon in Rome, built around 125 AD, has a concrete dome that has continuously diverted rainwater for nearly 1,900 years without a single waterproofing repair. The port of Caesarea Maritima, built around 20 BC, used pozzolanic concrete for underwater foundations that are still structurally intact today after 2,000 years of constant immersion in saltwater. That is a documented archaeological fact, confirmed by materials scientists from the University of California, Berkeley, in a study published in 2017. And the compound responsible costs approximately a few dollars per pound at any masonry supply store under the name volcanic ash or natural pozzolan. But the story doesn't begin with Rome. Let me take you to the island of Santorini, around 1600 BC. The Minoan civilization had developed construction techniques using local volcanic deposits that archaeologists have only recently begun to fully understand. Excavations in the ancient city of Akrotiri revealed building foundations using a mixture of lime and volcanic ash that had remained completely impermeable to groundwater for more than 3,000 years of burial. Across the ancient Mediterranean, every civilization with access to volcanic deposits independently discovered the same truth. When mixed with lime and water, volcanic ash creates a crystalline reaction product called calcium silicate hydrate, which fills every pore and fracture in stone or masonry with microscopic crystal structures that become denser and harder over time instead of degrading. Unlike modern roofing membranes that sit on top of the substrate and eventually delaminate and fail, the calcium silicate hydrate network grows within the substrate itself. It does not coat the surface, it becomes the surface. Every drop of water that contacts the treated material triggers a chemical reaction that produces more calcium silicate hydrate crystals, making the waterproofing self-healing at a molecular level. This is what happens at the molecular level when you apply this mineral to a leaking roof. The natural pozzolan powder contains amorphous silicon dioxide and aluminum oxide in reactive form. When mixed with hydrated lime and water, a chemical reaction called the pozzolanic reaction begins immediately. The silicon dioxide and aluminum oxide react with calcium hydroxide to form calcium silicate hydrate and calcium aluminate hydrate, the same crystalline compounds that give Roman concrete its legendary durability. These reaction products are not soluble in water. They do not wash away with rain. They grow as crystals that interlock with each other, and with the mineral structure of any masonry, concrete, clay, or stone substrate they contact. In a leaking roof, this crystalline growth occurs preferentially within cracks and fractures, where water infiltration happens, because water carries dissolved ions to the damaged areas, and crystallization occurs where the ion concentration is highest. The mineral literally chases the leak paths and fills them from within. A study published by researchers at the Delft University of Technology in 2014 measured the crack-filling performance of natural pozzolan mixed with lime in concrete samples, with artificial cracks up to 0.4 meters wide. The pozzolanic mixture completely sealed all cracks within 72 hours, and the sealed samples showed zero water permeability under pressure tests, equivalent to a 30-meter column of water, zero permeability from a powder that cost per pound. So why isn't a dollar per pound mineral that permanently waterproofs any masonry roof the first recommendation of every roofer? The global roofing market generates more than $56 billion in annual revenue in the United States alone. The average asphalt shingle roof costs between $8,000 and $1,000 to replace, and lasts between 15 and 30 years. The average flat membrane roof on a commercial building requires complete replacement every 10 to 20 years. Every dollar of that revenue depends on one physical reality. Roofing materials degrade. A mineral that permanently eliminates water infiltration through crystalline self-repair doesn't fit anywhere within a business model built on material degradation and scheduled replacement. You can't patent natural volcanic ash because it is a geological material deposited on the Earth's surface by volcanic activity over millions of years. You can't build a subscription model around a powder that is applied in an afternoon and then continues actively self-repairing using nothing more than the rainwater that falls on it. The suppression was methodical and completely rational from the industry's economic point of view. During the post-war construction boom of the 1950s and 1960s, the American roofing industry rapidly consolidated around petroleum-based products. Asphalt shingles, tar paper, and bituminous membrane systems offered something that natural pozzolana never could: a predictable and relatively short replacement cycle. Roofing trade associations successfully lobbied for building codes that required specific approved materials for residential roof waterproofing. Natural pozzolanic treatments were classified as non-standard and excluded from approved materials lists that determine what licensed contractors can legally install. Insurance companies included clauses in homeowners' policies that voided coverage for water damage if non-approved roofing materials had been used. You couldn't legally use the natural mineral on a permitted construction project. Your insurance wouldn't cover you if you used it without approval, and the only approved alternatives were products that the roofing industry manufactured and sold. A retired civil engineer in Portland documented this suppression in a technical report in 2009. He traced specific regulatory changes that removed pozzolanic treatments from approved roofing practice guidelines between 1955 and 1975 in 14 American states. In each case, the regulatory revision was initiated by a petition from a roofing industry trade association and approved without any independent technical review of the mineral's real-world performance data. This is exactly what you should do. Buy natural pozzolana powder, also sold as volcanic ash or natural volcanic pozzolan, from any masonry supply store or online mineral supplier. This costs between $1 per pound, and a 25-pound bag treats approximately 400 square feet of roof surface. Also buy hydrated lime from any masonry or agricultural supply store. Mix 3 parts pozzolana powder with 1 part hydrated lime in a dry bucket, and stir to combine. Slowly add water while mixing until you reach a consistency slightly thinner than yogurt. For sloped roofs with clay, concrete, or stone tiles, apply the mixture directly to the roof surface using a stiff masonry brush, working the material firmly into any visible cracks, gaps between tiles, and damaged surface areas. Pay special attention to ridge lines, valley joints, and areas around chimneys, vents, and skylights, because these are the most common starting points for leaks. For flat concrete or masonry roofs, apply in 2 coats using a wide brush, allowing the first coat to set for 24 hours before applying the second coat perpendicular to the first. For corrugated metal or aged asphalt surfaces, clean the surface with a wire brush to remove loose scale. Then apply the mixture to all joints, seams, and visibly damaged areas. Allow the treated surface to cure for 72 hours before exposing it to rain. Lightly mist the surface with water twice a day during curing if conditions are hot and dry, because the pozzolanic reaction requires moisture to continue progressing. The crystalline network will continue growing and densifying for months after application as rainwater contacts the treated surface, making the waterproofing progressively more complete over time. A homeowner in rural Scotland applied a pozzolana and lime mixture to a 200-year-old stone farmhouse roof that had been leaking in 3 separate locations for more than a decade. Professional roofers had quoted between $4,000 and $9,000 for various repair options. After a single weekend application, the roof showed 0 water infiltration during its first Scottish winter and has remained dry through 4 subsequent winters of heavy rain and freezing conditions. His total material cost was $32. Some knowledge never truly disappears. It waits in the concrete dome of the Pantheon, still deflecting rain after 19 centuries. It waits in the foundations of the port of Caesarea Maritima, still standing after 2,000 years of saltwater immersion. It waits in the buried buildings of ancient Akrotiri, perfectly waterproof after 3,000 years underground. The Roman engineers who mixed volcanic ash with lime and seawater in the 2nd century BC understood something that the $56 billion roofing industry has spent a century making sure you never learned. Water infiltration is not inevitable. It is a surface condition, and surface conditions can be permanently changed with $1's worth of mineral powder in an afternoon of your time. If this changed the way you see the roof over your head and every repair quote you've ever received, subscribe and share this video now. Every share puts this knowledge back into the hands of someone still paying $10,000 for a replacement roof, when $1 solution has been waiting in volcanic deposits since before Rome laid its first stone. Yeah,